Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Paranormal and Historic Locations and Legends. Tonight, we're going to pick up from where we last left off last week, which was on the, even though it was considered the slideshow we were watching, I was shown was The Exorcism of Roland Doe. For the most part, there's really not much else I can really tell you about because we already went through the full thing. However, on the very same slideshow, on the same slideshow, we're actually going to be talking now tonight about the book and movie that we're inspired by, which you obviously see right behind me. You know, this whole event was later inspired the book and the movie The Exorcist. Just a few things just before we get started with our slideshow today. I honestly didn't think I was going to be able to do the show tonight because we were actually under a tornado warning, but fortunately that has passed. It's over, so we're out in the clear. And so yeah, that's what's most important. And finally, I know I'm not the first show on this network to have said this. I want to give my thoughts and prayers for for the victims of the shooting that have occurred out in Uvalde, Texas. You know, the 19 kids who passed, who were shot and killed along with the two adults. It's just absolutely devastating. So my thoughts and prayers go for the victims and their families. So let's just really hope that something like this will never, ever happen again. So, anyways, as much as I hate to move on from such a topic like that, I do have to get right down to business. So, very quickly, just before we get started, I'm going to just give a quick few shout outs. Hello, Nigel. Good to see you. What's up, Darren? Hey, Dustin. I'm doing good. Thanks for tuning in. All right, so we're going to continue on, like I said, from with part 2 of our slideshow from last week. So you guys saw, like I said, the true event last week. Now we're going to be focusing on the book and movie that followed, and its supposed curse that it's associated with. Let's see here. Thank you, Nigel. I really appreciate it. Hey, Sandy. You could go to either my personal page to watch the first part. You could either there or on the Things Network or Skeleton Key Network or Temple of Phoenix Entertainment page, BB3 TV, RU Media, or the Pack channel pages. So I'm on quite a couple pages. What's going on, Natalie? Good to see you. Hey, what's up, Tom? Pickle Tom. Good to see you. All right, so let me get the screen share. You guys know me with this. This is always this is always the difficult part every time that I do these slideshows. What I always got to do too, because this has happened quite a few times, is I always got to check on the live to make sure that it is showing, because there are a few times where sometimes it doesn't show. Okay, let's see here. And as always, guys, like I always say right at the beginning, once I begin these slideshows, we got it. Once I begin these slideshows, unfortunately, I can't see the comments from this point forward until I'm actually off the slideshow. So I do apologize if I'm not responding to any comments. So, but anyways, let's continue from part 2, because again, like I said, last week we were talking about the actual exorcism. Now we're going to see where how the movie got created, if you will. After hearing and reading various accounts during his studies at Georgetown of the Roland Doe case, William Peter Blatty decided to write an actual true crime-style account of the incident. But when he reached out to the Georgetown administrators and the Jesuit priests about this, they actively lied about the event and were very closed-mouthed and evasive about it to throw Blatty off. Blatty believes they were embarrassed about it and that the Catholic Church has actively been downplaying its use of exorcism as a response to crisis in the parish. This is where the exorcism has been a dirty little secret the Catholic Church has kept hidden in the closet over the years. Line came from. It was a reflection of Blatty's real experiences. At Reverend Bo Dern and Roland's parents' request, Blatty then decided to write a full-out Pulp Fiction style approach to the subject, a horror story as opposed to a true life account, so that fiction could convey the heart of the matter where a real life account could not. Hence, the names were changed. I forgot to click on it. That's Reverend Bo Dern, if you guys remember from last week. Hence, the names were changed. The time period the events took place in were changed. The entire sequence was moved from St. Louis to Washington D.C., and the gender of the possessed child was changed. This was all done to hide the identity of the young man, which was Roland Doe, which I could certainly understand. I mean, considering that this was no more than about well over almost 25 years after the actual case occurred. And considering that, knowing that Roland Doe was still alive at that time, including his parents as well, which that's quite surprising. Um, I could definitely understand why they need to make a lot of changes for this movie to hide the identity. Because if you literally make a film that goes down right to the true events, especially the person who was, basically tortured terribly, that's going to give you obviously a lot of unwanted attention. The only thing that was left intact, however, the only thing that was left intact from the real incident of the Roland Doe case was that a child was possessed. The said child engaged in swearing, violence, and antisocial behavior. Two Jesuit priests were involved in the exorcism, and it did happen in Georgetown. That was all true, but the rest of the story is all embellished. The Exorcist in the book, however, Father Merrin was closely based on Reverend William Bodern. The book was loved by critics and readers alike, but the author struggled with the script, tossing away a number of rewrites of his original text before finally coming with a version that satisfied the director of the project, William Friedkin. Blatty had wanted Friedkin as the director because he was well known for his documentary work, and Blatty felt strongly that the story needed somebody who could give the film a sense of reality. 2 years after its publication, The Exorcist was, of course, turned into a wildly popular motion picture, garnering 10 Academy Award nominations. Purposefully raw and profane, The Exorcist still has the extraordinary ability to disturb readers and cause them to forget that it is just a story. They push boundaries that had never been pushed before, and doing so may have released a curse on the cast, excuse me. The original 1973 film caused quite the stir and saw terrified cinema goers and was overwhelmed by controversy. Rumors surrounded it about disturbing things that had happened on set during filming and plagued those involved with the production. Several surprising incidents led to raised questions at the time, and some came to believe that the film itself was cursed. And after deaths, a freak fire, accidents, and injuries on sets, and even a murder, all took place while the film was being made. Many would agree. The Exorcist was and is more than just a novel and a film. It is a true landmark, but also holds a certain allure and power that may be more than just an urban legend. The filming of The Exorcist was done over a 9-month period. The main set, a reproduction of the Georgetown home, was built in a warehouse in New York. During the filming, a number of curious incidents and accidents took place on the set and plagued those involved I already said something like that already, involved with the production. I don't know how that occurred. In addition, the budget of the film rose from $5 million to more than twice that amount. Obviously, any film production that lasts for more than a month or so will see its share of accidents and mishaps, but The Exorcist seems to have been particularly affected by unforeseeable calamities. Perhaps, but it left the cast and crew shaken. The Exorcist has been scaring audiences for years, but the scares first started when the teaser trailer was released for the movie. The teaser consisted of the iconic scene of Father Merrin getting out of his cab, followed by flashes of the white-faced demon and the demented Reagan. The trailer seems fairly tame by today's standards, but in 1973, the trailer was actually pulled from several theaters because people thought it was too scary to be shown. Those people were likely the ones who had to be carried out of the theater by paramedics when the movie started as well. Now, before we continue, I'm actually going to, I do have that trailer, in fact. So I'm going to share the link so you guys can see it. I actually have two different trailers that were made, two original trailers that were made prior before The Exorcist, the movie itself was released. So give me 1 second here. Pickle Mick. Yeah, it's a great movie, Sean, definitely. Okay, so give me 1 second here. And also when I do, just fair warning, it is pretty flashy, so it might, I don't want to cause any seizures or anything, but viewer discretion is advised. But more just for the flashes. So this is the original trailer that ended up getting banned. Let's see. There we go.
Something beyond comprehension is happening to a little girl on this street. In this house, a man has been sent for as a last resort to try and save her.
Well, I could sure understand why it definitely still is quite the intense trailer. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that probably not only caused seizures, but I can understand why a lot of people got afraid. Well, as a result, because that trailer was considered way too scary to show to, in theaters, they ended up making a second trailer, which, it was less intense, but still, nevertheless, not the less frightening. So here is the other trailer that they made as an alternative.
Somewhere between science and superstition, there is another world. The world of darkness. Nobody expected it. Nobody believed it. And nothing could stop it.
There are no experts. You probably know as much about possession as most priests. Look, your daughter doesn't say she's a demon. She says she's the devil himself.
I'm telling you that thing upstairs isn't my daughter. Now, I want you to tell me that you know for a fact that there's nothing wrong with my daughter except in her mind. You tell me you know for a fact that an exorcism wouldn't do any good. You tell me that!
The one hope. The only hope. The Exorcist.
And that still is one of the scariest movies ever. Unbelievable. Let me just go back really quickly just to check on the comments. So the exorcism of Roland Doe. Yeah, it actually, yeah, that's the Exorcist, Sandy. That's what makes that movie probably even far more terrifying. That most people don't seem to know that it's actually based on a true story. So yeah, that the exorcism of Roland Doe that I was talking about last week, that was the real event. Hello, Patricia. Good to see you. All right, now let me just go back and yeah, definitely. And I never did say, again, I don't know why I'm not getting all the responses, comments from my personal profile. Cindy, good to see you. What's going on, Aunt Barb? What's up, Drew? Hey, Jan. Yeah, I'm glad you were watching. So thanks for tuning in. Hey, Angela, yes, that definitely was creepy. I think you were talking about the first trailer. Rochelle, good to see you. Well, I'm glad you were able to tune in this time. All right, so let me just go through this again. Let's try this again. Damn it. Okay, well, at least I'm back on StreamYard. Okay. What's up, Penny? All right, now let me just go through again. This is always such a struggle when when I always have to go through this presentation, sharing. Okay, so let me just check to see if the screen is showing. Okay, here we go. Now, obviously, as I already said, supposedly there was a lot of unusual events that occurred in this film that supposedly the film is cursed. For starters, the film was faced with multiple production delays, but the most notable one happened early on into the production. The first incident occurred around 2:30 a.m. one Sunday morning in 1972, when a fire broke out on the set, which everyone was home. Fortunately, everyone was home for the night, so nobody really was inside, though there was one security guard at the CISO 54th Street studios when the McNeil house set caught fire and burned. The film's production manager called William Friedkin, the film's production manager called William Friedkin and told him not to bother coming into work the next day. Rationally, Friedkin thought he was being fired for some reason, but that wasn't the case. There wasn't much of a set to which Friedkin could return. The fire was the result of a bad electric circuit after a pigeon flew into the circuit box, but it shut down filming for 6 weeks while the set was constructed again from scratch. And get this, ironically, as soon as the new set was ready, the sprinkler system broke down, causing an additional 2-week delay. And eerily, the only part of the set that survived was the bedroom where the exorcisms would take place, which filmmakers thought was very strange. The room was a separate set from the house, but both were near each other, located in the same building. Film historian Sarah Kraut told iNews, this set production backed significantly and led to a draining shooting period of over a year. After the incident, which caused another 6-week delay, and fearing that the film was being assailed by an evil presence, a real Jesuit priest, Reverend Thomas M. King, was called in to perform a real exorcism on set. At first, the Reverend refused, but after the mysterious set fire halted productions for 6 weeks, he had a change of heart, and came to the set to give it a blessing. A creepy film with equally creepy occurrences following it is made all the more creepy when one of the film's leading stars receives an ominous warning during filming. According to The Independent, Jason Miller, who played the Jesuit psychologist, Father Karaz, I think that's how you say his name, was approached by a real priest in the street while the movie was filming. The priest in question supposedly had no knowledge of The Exorcist, what it was about, or that Miller was connected to the project. Forgot to put that one up. It's reported that the priest handed Miller a sacred medallion. Sorry, my cat just jumped up. That was close. Um, it's reported that the priest handed Miller a sacred medallion and said, "Reveal the devil for the trickster that he is. He will seek retribution against you, or he will even try to stop what you are trying to do to unmask him." The location trip to Iraq was delayed from the spring, which is relatively cool, to July, the hottest part of the summer, when the temperature rose to 130 degrees and higher. Out of the 18-man crew that was sent there, Friedkin lost the services of 9 of them at one time or another due to dysentery or sunstroke. To make matters worse, the bronze statue of the Neo-Assyrian winged demon, Pazuzu, which was packed in a 10-foot crate, got lost in an air shipment from Los Angeles and ended up in Hong Kong, which caused another 2-week delay. You guys basically believe that everything that they were trying to put into this movie, there was just such misfortune involved that it just kept pushing this movie several weeks to when it was originally supposed to be shot. And it's just, I don't know what it is. It's almost as if this movie just refused to be made. If you think about it, I mean, it's just like, I don't even know how you could really describe it. It's just really bizarre. It's like, how much? It's really that kind of question of how much further can you go to try to make this movie and have all this misfortune, this possible curse that may have actually been put into effect with this movie, this infamous movie. Now, unfortunately, the deaths of at least 4 people have been linked to the film, and some believe this is proof of the Exorcist curse. They included Jack McGowan, who played the eccentric film director Burt Dennings in the film. Burt Dennings. And in the film, he was killed by demon-plagued Regan McNeil. His character was attacked by the possessed child, who used her superhuman strength to break his neck and then flung him out of her bedroom window. Ahead of the film's release, Jack tragically died from complications related to influenza, which he caught during the London flu epidemic in 1973, only a week after his character was killed by the demon in the movie and before the film was released. So he never even got to see the movie itself. Just before I fast forward with this. I'm just looking at some of the comments here through my phone, just so I could try to do some responses. Hey, Jeremy, good to see you. I think I read somewhere that even. Yeah, Sandy, you're right. We're gonna get to that in just a short moment. There's a lot more to this movie that meets the eye. So bear with me. I'm gonna be getting to that real soon. That Vasiliki Malieros, I think that's how you say it, who played Father Damien Carras's mother, also passed away that same year before The Exorcist hit the big screen, and while the movie was in production. The star, who had no previous acting experience and was cast after being spotted at a restaurant, was ruled to have died from natural causes at an inquest. In the film, Vasiliki's character died after being admitted to a hospital and later haunted the dreams of Father Carras. Later, while the Carras, I think it's Carras actually. Again, it's really hard to pronounce some of these names. Later, while the religious man performs an exorcism, Regan mentions his mother's name in an attempt to distract him and make him feel guilty. I think I know which scene that they're talking about, and I'm not going to say it. It's very, very offensive. But we're not going to get into that. But I know exactly which scene they're talking about here. Now, although 4 of them died, 4 of the actors did die, during production of this and after production of this movie. At the same time, unfortunately, few of the actors in the film escaped personal troubles during the shoot. During the production, a number of the cast and crew, including Linda Blair, who played Regan, and Max von Sydow, who played Father Marin, also lost family members, one of them being Linda's grandfather. Just as Max von Sydow touched down in New York to film his first scenes, on the first day of shooting, his brother died unexpectedly in Sweden. Von Sydow himself later became very ill during the filming. Not only that, Jason Miller, who plays Father Karras, was stunned when his young son, Jordan, had a near fatal motorcycle accident during filming. Jordan was struck down on an empty beach. Struck down an empty beach by a motorcyclist who appeared out of nowhere, in which the boy almost died. One of the technicians who worked on refrigerating the film said, young Reagan's bedroom was made to be so cold that one could see the actor's breath plumes. Passed away during production. So that was another one of the cast and crew that passed away. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And I know exactly, because I do remember how they made the room really cold, but I had no idea that one of the technicians who did that passed away during the making of this movie. Let's see what Sandy's got to say next. If they were coincidence, there sure was a lot of them. Well, Sandy, I'll tell you this right now. I hate to use this term, but it gets better or for worse, if you want to put it that way. A night watchman and a special effects expert also lost their lives during and after production of The Exorcist. I'm just checking out the personal page. Good to see you, Jacqueline. Thanks for tuning in. And see who else we got. Hey, what's going on, Tyler? Good to see you. Thanks. Really appreciate you coming on and watching this. Thank you. Now, Sandy, here's what you were asking about with Linda Blair. But also with another additional actress. While Linda Blair gave an incredible performance at the age of 14, the voice of the demon was actually done by radio and film actress Mercedes McCambridge. The actress added a startling dimension to the movie by supplying a chilling voice one would never imagine coming from a little girl. William Friedkin once said that the actress swallowed raw eggs, smoked cigarettes, and drank alcohol in order to achieve the voice of the demon. What's even more interesting is that McCambridge even gave up her sobriety to make the voice seem as authentic as possible. Sadly, in 1987, she also faced a tragedy when her son ended the life of his wife, his children, and himself. To this day, we still don't know why he committed this mass murder suicide to his own family and to himself. Just awful. Absolutely awful. Now, according to CBS, the rest of the deaths included everyone from actors to a night watchman to a special effects expert. Obviously what I've already said. I don't know if it was a jinx, really. Actress Ellen Burstyn later said, but there were some really strange goings on during the making of the film. We were dealing with some really heavy material, and you don't fool around with that kind of material without it manifesting in some way. There were many deaths on the film. Like I said, Linda's grandfather died. The assistant cameraman's wife had a baby that died. The man who refrigerated the set died. The janitor who took care of the building was shot and killed. I think overall, there were 9 deaths during the course of the film, which is an incredible amount. It was scary. I mean, I'll be honest right now. I'm just reading this. Oh, man, it actually gives me chills just thinking about it. I didn't really pay too much attention, really, putting these a slideshow like this and all the information together. I might have read it at least once, but my God, actually reading it and going further into detail, and it's just absolutely chilling. Definitely. This is far more terrifying than the movie itself. All told again over the course and by the end of filming The Exorcist and beyond, at least 9 people, either related to the cast or crew or were part of it, have died. Now, additionally, on the set, there were also several injuries, including long-term back injuries for both Linda Blair, who played the possessed girl Reagan, and Ellen Burstyn, who played Reagan's concerned mother, Chris McNeil. Although that was because the stunt harnesses they were attached to were handled a little too roughly by technicians. Ellen Burstyn suffered a permanent spinal injury where it wrenched her back badly during one scene when she was slapped by the possessed girl and was thrown to the ground while being hoisted around on a harness and omits a blood-curdling scream. It turns out the reason why that scream is so realistic sounding is because it was an honest scream of pain. Just again, I never really knew about that until several years later. The stunt went badly awry as the harness pulled hard on her during the stunt, causing a severe injury to her spine that never fully healed. And she was laid up in bed for several weeks afterward, causing more delays in the filming. She was left on crutches for the rest of the production and recalled the accident during a 2018 interview with The Guardian. Her cry made the final cut of the film, only adding to the truthful creepiness surrounding the production. Linda Blair said in a recent interview there was poor rigging and that her spine was fractured in the "Mother, make it stop, it's burning scene, where Reagan's upper body is ricocheting up and down off the bed. The contraption that was supposed to lift her up and broke down loose, had broken down loose, and her spine was permanently injured and contributed to developing scoliosis in a USA Today interview. The actress said the moment she fractured her lower spine was actually the footage that's in the movie. She said, in this particular take, the lacing came loose. I'm crying, I'm screaming. They think I'm acting up a storm. It fractured my lower spine. Linda went on to suffer, and then to make matters worse, Linda went on to suffer injuries on other film sets too, including a motorcycle accident and multiple falls from horses. Wow. Now, I really wish I could just end it just about here, but unfortunately, it just continues to get kind of worse, if you will. In New York, one of the carpenters accidentally cut off his thumb on the set, and one of the lighting technicians lost a toe. Ellen, damn it! Sorry if you guys keep hearing that loud tapping. That's my cat. She keeps jumping up and down. She's acting really crazy right now. But wait, there's more. Jeremy. Now, Ellen told William Friedkin that a crew member was pulling me too hard, but she claimed he dismissed her concerns. She recalled Friedkin said, well, it has to look real, I said. I know it has to look real, but I'm telling you, I could get hurt. The actress alleged that the director made a signal and the cameraman smashed me on the floor after her complaint. Jeez. I was screaming at the top of my lungs. Through my screams, I said, turn the effing camera off, she said. Friedkin rejected Ellen's claims and said, I'm sure she was hurt by the fall. You fall on your backside, it's going to hurt, but she wasn't injured. That seems relatively suspicious. These stories were only sensationalized by additional reports that it was revealed that William Friedkin would often keep the entire cast and crew on edge by occasionally firing guns into the air to startle people, slap actors in the face right before the cameras started rolling, and by playing very loud music on set between takes. Seems like William Friedkin just seemed like kind of a little bit out of his head. I mean, he just seemed like he was completely insane. I mean, I don't know what to say about that. Just, oh man, I don't even have words, cannot even describe it. In an interview, Jason Miller stated that he had a major verbal confrontation with Friedkin after the director fired a gun near his ear to get an authentic reaction from him. He told Friedkin that he is an actor and that he didn't need a gun to act surprised or startled. While this often got genuine reactions from the cast, it also angered them, resulting in Ellen Burstyn calling Friedkin a maniac. Let's see. Vicky, yeah, I mean, it could have very well been. He may have had some kind of attachment. And yeah, he definitely was Sandy. I mean, it's just like, it actually makes it far more creepier, the fact that even the director himself was kind of a little bit way out of his mind when this movie was being made. It's like you just didn't really feel safe anywhere. You know, the guy who's actually trying to put this movie together was just like, it was just crazy. I mean, it's just like, wow. Sorry, I'm just going back over some of the comments. there's still more to come. I mean, it's just incredible of how much of the information I was able to find on this whole case. There is almost nothing indicated of a supernatural presence than inexplicable floating objects. During production, several cast and crew members claimed to have witnessed props and other objects moving by themselves. Most significantly, the telephone that the crew used to communicate on set rose and fell a few times, which understandably, I mean, hearing something like that, that's more attributed to poltergeist activity. But still, you know, I would not be the least bit surprised that they had some type of paranormal activity when this film was made. Yeah, Jeremy, there comes the point where you say enough is enough and walk out. Definitely. Natalie said, makes you wonder if some of the accidents were from everyone being on it. It could have. That's another likely possibility, Natalie. You're definitely right on that. Things got so bad that William Friedkin took some drastic measures. Father Thomas Birmingham, S.J. from the Jesuit community at Fordham University, had been hired as a technical advisor for the film, along with Father John Nicola, who, while not a Jesuit, had been taught by Jesuit theologians. Sorry, I can't say that word. At St. Mary of the Lake Seminary in Mundelein, Illinois, which, ironically enough, Mundelein's only just a half hour away from me. Friedkin came to Birmingham and asked him to exorcise the set. The priest was unable to perform an actual exorcism, but he did give a solemn blessing in a ceremony that was attended by everyone then on the set, from Max von Sydow to the technicians and grips. Nothing else happened on the set after the blessing, Birmingham stated. But around that time, there was a fire in the Jesuit residence set in Georgetown. It's almost like as if the curse really was not truly exorcised. It just happened to move on to a different area since it happened in the Jesuit residence. I mean, these fires, though, it's just very bizarre, you know, just hear the fires in particular. You know, first it happened on set, and then it eventually happened at one of these Jesuit residences. And while nothing else tragic occurred on the set, strange events and odd coincidences were reported during the post-production work on the film. There were strange images and visions that showed up on film that were never planned, Friedkin later claimed. There are double exposures in the little girl's face at the end of one reel that are unbelievable. I'm sure many of you have seen, obviously, I think a lot of us here have seen The Exorcist. I'm sure he's talking about, those one or two particular scenes, including that one scene that Friedkin's talking about. So that probably should strike a familiar image to you guys. Now, that was all involving the production of the movie. Now we're going to fast forward of when it was released into the theaters. Rochelle just said, sounds similar to like when the director was making The Shining and he would terrorize the actors so they would have genuine reactions during production. Yeah, very likely, Rochelle. Definitely. Now, when The Exorcist was released, It was the highest grossing film of the time, but audiences reported having physical reactions to it, such as fainting and vomiting. One woman blamed a miscarriage on the film. It was said that anyone could be possessed by the film just by watching it, and that it gave evil a path to corrupt human souls. So essentially, it's like this supposed curse associated with The Exorcist, it just didn't stop. It didn't just affect those who actually worked on the movie itself, but even those just everyday people, audiences that came into the theaters to see this movie. It's like it just affected. It's really that kind of film where it just affected, just about anybody that worked or saw the movie. Prominent television televangelist, I can't even say that word, Billy Graham believed the evil of The Exorcist went further than just its subject matter. There is a power of evil in the film, in the fabric of the film itself, he claimed, adding grimly that he felt darkness emitting from it. Graham wasn't the only one to try to prevent people from seeing the film. It was protested in some cities, and certain parts of the United Kingdom completely banned the film. The British Board of Film Classification slapped the film with an X rating, which restricted viewership of it in the UK, but certain areas refused to show the film at all. This led to the bizarre spectacle of Exorcist bus trips, which I did try looking for images. I wasn't able to find anything, so sorry I don't have that. But it led to the bizarre spectacle of Exorcist bus trips, where enterprising travel companies organized buses to take groups to the nearest town where the film was showing. The Video Recording Act 1984 also made it difficult for UK people to watch the film when they removed the film from shelves and video due to the protagonist being a 12-year-old child. Only in 1998, when the film was re-released, did the UK decide enough time had passed and younger audiences were less vulnerable to the film's content. I know we actually had a few people from the UK watching. And, okay, Jeremy said, a precursor to The Ring. Yeah. And, let's see. With all the negativity, definitely could see poltergeist activity as a possibility. Well, you also have to remember too, Vicky. I mean, considering Linda Blair was only 14 years old, she was at that age where she could have it usually happens with a lot of teenagers too, that there could have been some kind of poltergeist activity emitting from her. Jerry says, you got to admit, the end result was one of the scariest movies of all time. Excuse me. You're absolutely right on that, Jeremy. Precursor to The Ring, very much like it in a way. All right, hang on. I'm trying. Yup, hormonal. Okay. Now, groups waiting in line outside. Get this. Groups waiting in line outside theaters sometimes broke out into violence. None of these rumors, however, prevented the film from finding success. It is just like what you just said, Jeremy, ironically. It is because of these incidents and rumors that The Exorcist is one of the most notorious and perhaps scariest cursed films of all time. The Exorcist was released on Boxing Day, December 26th, which is kind of strange that they released it because it was literally the day after Christmas, which I didn't know about until, again, putting this whole thing together. I thought it was released sometime in mid 1973 or even October, but I had no idea that it was literally the day after Christmas they released this movie. But it seemed claims of the curse weren't going to die down, and it was used as a marketing tool for the film. The Exorcist came out long before the time of studios warning about how strobe effects and intense gore could affect some viewers. Within weeks of the first public screenings of the film, stories started to make the rounds. On opening day of the film, lines of the novel's fans stretched around city blocks. In America, Here in Chicago, Illinois, in fact, so here in Chicago, frustrated moviegoers used a battering ram to gain entry through the double side doors of a theater. In Kansas City, Missouri, police used tear gas to disperse an impatient crowd who tried to force their way into a cinema. The three major television networks carried footage of these events. CBS's Walter Cronkite devoted almost 10 minutes to the story. Again, I tried looking for that footage or any images of the this practical riot that occurred, but I was unable to find it. I'm sure the footage is out there somewhere, but it's just not available. I tried looking for it on YouTube, tried to look on a few other video sites, and I just couldn't find it, unfortunately. Elsewhere, there were reports of audiences getting sick, screaming, fainting, and vomiting when they went to see it in the theaters. Now this is kind of a little bit gruesome. One woman passed out and broke her jaw on one of the theater seats midway through the screening and later sued Warner Brothers for an undisclosed sum, though the studio later settled the claim out of court. She claimed that the film's evil messages contained subliminal messages that caused her fainting spell. That's the thing, too. I mean, I have never seen a movie where it really affected so many people because, like, from what I remember hearing, was it generated. This was a movie that just generated nightmares for weeks, if not even for a few months for people. It really freaked out, really terrified a lot of people. I mean, I've even heard stories supposedly that there were people that actually had to go to therapy afterwards after they saw the movie. It really affected them really badly. I mean, that's just like, geez. Supposedly, get this, supposedly bark bags were handed out at screenings with every ticket purchase, and some people had to get taken out of theaters on stretchers. That's how bad a lot of these people really fainted when they saw this movie. They actually had paramedics sometimes just waiting outside the theaters for anybody that fainted. Now, it wasn't just here in the United States that this film was causing several problems for audiences. During the film premiere in Rome, Italy in 1974, it was reported that a raging storm accompanied by thunder, lightning, heavy rain, and howling winds picked up suddenly. During the screening, audience members claimed they could hear sounds in the wind, sounds they could describe as demonic cries. Even spookier, soon after that, a bolt of lightning struck a centuries-old cross atop a historic 16th century church across the road from where the movie premiered, sending it crashing to the ground. Meanwhile, in the UK, it was reported that St. John's ambulance staff attended screenings to help distress cinema goers. There were also reports of disturbing nightmares, and reportedly, a number of theater ushers had to be placed under a doctor's care or quit their jobs after experiencing successive showings of the movie. Unbelievable. In numerous cities that were checked after The Exorcist had run for several weeks. Hold on one second, guys. I got to sneeze. Excuse me. Sorry. In numerous cities that were checked after The Exorcist had run for several weeks, reporters found that every major hospital had been forced to deal with patients who reported after seeing the film severe cases of vomiting and hallucinations. Journalist Judy Clemsrud reported in a 1974 article that several people had heart attacks. One woman even had a miscarriage, is what I said earlier. Thanks, Vicky. Oh, yes. Just now, the next, everyone's saying bless you. Thanks, Sandy. Okay, so now this is where things get, I know I've been saying it a few times. It just seems like it just gets creepier by each slide that I go through. I actually do have a clip I'm going to present, which is only about a minute and a half clip. See how much time do we have left just before. Okay, so we got about 8 minutes left. Okay, that's enough time. Now, this footage that I'm going to present to you guys, I'm sure some of you guys have probably seen this on YouTube. This is an actual, these were taken by an actual documentary that was made shortly after the movie's release. And it's it's audience reactions to people who saw the movie. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, I think this footage is even scarier than the movie itself, because this is the real thing. And you could see very clearly how traumatized people were when it came out. So just kind of be forewarned. It's nothing graphic or anything like that, but just be ready for this. So here is the footage of the audience reactions.
I don't want to leave her in there alone. I'm not standing here shaking for nothing.
How about you?
It's very, very real. I don't like it. I want to go home.
I want to see if it's going to make me throw up.
It's one of the most grossest movies in the world.
Jeez.
I ain't never took my coat and hold my face like that.
I thought it was very powerful. Just turned my mind.
Terrible. But I just found it really horrible. I just had to come out. I couldn't take it anymore.
People are extremely depressed by this.
Wow.
Doesn't bother me that much. I guess it bothered her more than it bothered me. Fantastic movie.
I don't like it in Spanish or English or French.
It's really gross.
Did it upset you?
Yeah.
It's really terrific.
I can't even talk.
Makes my heart beat too fast.
Wow, some people are really traumatized right now. I mean, from this.
I've never in my life known a movie where people would faint. I mean, it's hard to make people faint.
Whoa.
Well, as soon as they faint, I get out smelling salts.
Like devil coming out of her.
I just couldn't take it. I'm going to stay out here for the rest of the movie. No, I'm too scared. I'm never this scared. I am too
I believe.
This is the second time we've seen it. We still can't happen.
I can't even describe it. It's horrible.
Jeez. Wow. Okay, I got absolute chills just watching it. My God. That wow. Okay. This is literally, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. This is literally like the first slideshow that's kind of really creeped me out. I mean, I didn't think it was gonna be just like any of the other previous slideshows where I'm able to handle it very easily. But man, this really that was creepy. That was pretty scary. Now, interestingly enough, the film created a widespread interest in exorcisms, but the result of this was often questionable. Scores of disturbed people began showing up at churches with claims of being possessed, while their problems should have been attributed to mental illness instead. In addition, renegade priests and self-proclaimed holy men started billing themselves as exorcists and demonologists, hoping to cash in on the popularity of the film and the widespread interest in the occult that followed its release. Unfortunately, not much has changed when it comes to that kind of thing. Let me just see what they just saw. Jeremy writes, yep, Tubular Bells, as I think a lot of us are familiar with the theme song of that movie. Yeah, one of the creepiest ever made. And that only just the fact that whoever made this video originally and had the Tubular Bells theme, to basically give in the atmosphere, that literally just made that whole reaction video probably far more scarier. This. Guys, you guys are about to hear, this is something that is not very well known. And you guys are about this guy right here. You guys are going to be kind of blown away by this. There was also the dark fact that, as evil as the film was, as coincidental as some of the deaths or the fire was, there was real life evil lurking around the set of the movie. Paul Bateson, was a radiographer who had a bit part as the technologist in the film. In 1977, he murdered a variety reporter and film journalist Addison Verrill by fatally stabbing and then beating him. He was quick to confess the crime, but couldn't provide police a motive for why he did it. That much is certain. In 1979, Bateson was convicted of the murder and served 24 years in prison before being released on parole. It doesn't even say if he's even still alive today or where he is now. I mean, just hearing that, I just thought, I can't believe they let this guy out. But even worse, what is more disturbing is that at one point while in custody, he might have been a serial killer. During the trial, prosecutors and police had implicated him in several other deaths he bragged about while in jail. He bragged about killing and dismembering 6 other gay men in New York between 1975 and 1977, which became known as the Bag Murders. For this, Bateson is considered as a serial killer, but those accusations were eventually dropped because though there was no evidence to suggest as much, and he was never convicted for those murders. The murder of Addison Verrill, who would provide inspiration for Friedkin to make his 1980 film Cruising, about an undercover cop investigating a serial killer in New York's gay leather scene. Yeah, I know, right, Vicky? Yeah, and that too, that whole thing alone became another movie of William Friedkin's, just almost 10 years later. Now, Sandy, you were asking about this too. Looks like we're getting a part 3. Actually, no, Jeremy, we are getting close to the end of the slideshow. So, but I only got maybe 2 slides. I think I only got 2 or 3 slides left. But anyways, Sandy, you were asking about this earlier about Linda Blair. At just 12 years old, Linda Blair's performance as Reagan garnered fan and critical acclaim, instant cult status, and to some an actual crush. However, since she was playing a young girl possessed by a demon, she also caught a lot of flack from the other side of fandom. Reagan divided people long before fandom as it is known of today. Linda Blair even received death threats from religious zealots for her role, and who believed the film glorified Satan. Warner Brothers had bodyguards follow her around and protecting her at all times for the first 6 months after the film's release. Oh, and okay, so we're down to the final slide. Now, this is partially focusing on a different film, but it's still revolving the Exorcist franchise because obviously, as we all know, it inspired 2 sequels along with 2 prequels along with a television series. Of course, I always tell people don't look into Exorcist 2: The Heretic. It's bad. So, but get this. I'm sure some of you guys know this. 17 years later, when Exorcist 3, a sequel to the original film, came out in the summer of 1990, the film became a focal point of the trial of serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer. As an adult, Dahmer was a fan of the Exorcist films, and this fixation on the classic horror flicks influenced his murderous behavior in the real world. As reported by the Chicago Tribune, one of Dahmer's near victims, Tracy Edwards, escaped from the killer's clutches and narrowly avoided becoming an addition to his long list of victims, which totaled 17 men and boys. During his confinement in Dahmer's apartment, where he was restrained with handcuffs, Edward was forced to watch Exorcist 3, which allegedly sent the killer into a trance of humming and rocking back and forth while chanting at various times, and that he especially enjoyed a sequence with a possessed Karas. Edwards ultimately helped lead police back to the crime scene and set the pieces in motion for Dahmer's arrest, which revealed the killer's horrific legacy of violence and dismemberment. per National Post. As if Dahmer's life story wasn't creepy enough, his murder spree mirrors the serial killer in Exorcist 3, which I will still say Exorcist 3, it's just as scary as the original film and certainly a much more, worthwhile, I mean, definitely much more worthier sequel than the Heretic one, but when you associate it with Jeffrey Dahmer, though, it makes it even more scary and disturbing. But like Jeffrey Dahmer, the character killed 17 people, all of whom were all of whom were murdered near a Catholic university. Yet, as disturbing as it sounds, the link between the fictional world of The Exorcist 3 and Dahmer's life is not exactly surprising. According to Detective Dennis Murphy, Dahmer revealed in his confession that he took solace in the film, which he related to. He felt the character in the movie was driven by evil, and he felt he could relate to the character because he felt somehow that got copied somehow, Murphy said. Anyways, I gotta wrap this up. The detective also revealed the extent of Dahmer's fixation on the movies. He watched it 2 to 3 times per week for a period of 6 months. Detectives testified that Dahmer claimed to identify with the Gemini killer and would play the film for some of his victims before killing them. Dark obsessions were not unusual for Dahmer. Dahmer went so far as to purchase yellow contact lenses to more resemble Miller, as well as to emulate another film character he admired, Emperor Palpatine from Star Wars, Return of the Jedi, which that was something I recently found out, that he actually got yellow contact lenses for his eyes to make it look like he was possessed, to resemble, the character from the Exorcist movies and the Emperor from Star Wars. A glimpse of his childhood reveals he was obsessed with collecting animal bones. This obsession pushed him to begin to learn how to bleach and preserve bones, a skill that helped him create his vast collection of human skulls as an adult. Jeffrey Dahmer, to this day, remains one of the most notorious serial killers in U.S. history. And he lived not too far from us, believe it or not. We're only an hour away from the Illinois-Wisconsin border, and just a few miles up ahead, well, more in the Milwaukee area, which is just about, I think, an hour and a half away from us. He lived not too far from us. Anyways, as we get close to the end, rumors and half-truths have surrounded this film for years, including the most controversial one of all, that actual demonic voices recording during an exorcism were mixed into the soundtrack. William Friedkin did admit that he was in the possession on a cassette recording of an actual exorcism performed in Rome. It's in Italian. It involves the exorcism of a 14-year-old boy. I got the tape through the Jesuit Provincial of New York, and on the tape are the sounds produced by this young man supposedly possessed. While Friedkin never claims to have used the sounds in the film, he does claim that he emulated them on the soundtrack for The Demon. It has been this rumor that has provoked angry claims that The Exorcist is somehow dangerous or evil. Some fundamentalists have claimed there is evil in the very celluloid of the film itself. Catholicism has been engaged in exorcisms from the beginning. There are New Testament references to Jesus casting out demons, and for the Catholic Church, there's a procedure and ritual to accomplish that important task. As the U.S. Catholic bishops state on their website, there are instances when a person needs to be protected against the power of the devil or to be withdrawn from his spiritual dominion. At such times, the Church asks publicly, and authoritatively in the name of Jesus Christ for this protection or liberation through the use of exorcism. It's not utilized at the drop of a hat. The first requirement is a thorough examination, medical, psychological, psychiatric, of the afflicted person in question. Once a determination is made that the devil really is at work, a major exorcism can be performed with the permission of the local bishop. but only by a priest, most often, or a bishop. The priest, the exorcist, has usually received special training to engage in the ministry, and the rite of exorcism should be performed in a church or chapel rather than the afflicted individual's home, for instance. It's one of those aspects of church, of faith, that's rife with dramatic possibilities, hence The Exorcist. Oh shoot. You know what? We are going a little bit overboard. I didn't even I just want to see how much. Oh, wait, we're down to the okay. We're down to the last slide. Okay. We're almost there, guys. Just bear with me. Come on. I thought I was gonna have to stop this. I know I'm going a few minutes overboard, but I'll make this very fast. We just got one more slide after this one. Now for William, but very quickly. So for William Peter Bradley, author William Peter Blatty, raised Catholic, was a student at the Jesuits Georgetown University when he read the story about the exorcism of Roland Doe in a Washington, D.C. suburb in the 1940s. His obituary in the Los Angeles Times quotes him this way. And when I heard about this case and read the details that seemed so compelling, I thought, my God, if someone were to investigate this and authenticate it, what would a tremendous boot to faith it would be. I thought someday I would like to see that happen. You know, I would like to do it. And he did. Because The Exorcist, okay, I don't know how the picture didn't show up before. Because The Exorcist tapped into such powerful religious iconography, and because it dealt terrifyingly with notions very familiar to practicing Roman Catholics, it was immediately a sensation. Billy Graham, the televangelist, declared that in making a movie about demonic possession, the actual film stock on which The Exorcist was printed was itself also possessed. For Catholics, The Exorcist laid bare, in literal terms, the constant struggle between Christ and the adversary, and underlined that church officials do indeed have the power to repel actual evil. After the release of The Exorcist, not only did a slew of imitators and ripoffs hit the film market, but actual instances of real world demon possessions began to increase. Demand for exorcisms, something that Catholics might have already been familiar with, also went up. One can chalk this up to a certain kind of religious hysteria. Or perhaps there was something truly demonic lurking in the film stock of Exorcist prints. And that, everyone, concludes part 2 of The Exorcist. Of the Exorcism of Roland Doe slideshow. Unfortunately, I do have to get off. I'm sorry I didn't respond to everybody. Let me just say this quickly. Jeffrey was one for you to, yeah, definitely. Let's see. Yeah, it wasn't smart if he did it. You see that, especially with intent, definitely can be dangerous. I appreciate that, Vicky. I seriously do have to get off though. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I really enjoyed the show. Thank you. Okay. All right. So again, guys, I really appreciate you guys coming, you guys taking time tuning in. I seriously, again, can't thank you guys enough. Just before I get off, for next week's show, we have what do we got coming up? This will be another one that I think you guys are gonna like. We're the next slideshow. I mean, next week's show, we're gonna be focusing on, and this Adrian, I don't know if you've been watching, but and Jeremy, hopefully you're still watching. We're gonna be focusing on the Stanley Hotel. You guessed it, not only just the Stanley Hotel, but also the movie The Shining. So, but that will be next week's show. Thank you very much, Vicky. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Sandy. Again, I really can't thank you guys enough, but I got to get off because I know there's another show waiting. Anyways, you guys all have a great night. If you guys want to tune into tomorrow night's episode of Supernatural Talk, I'll be on it. Hell, I even asked about it. Yep. Even Jeremy just said I asked about it. Hang on a second. Let's see what Jeremy just said. Because I saw you're extending my time at least on things to 90 minutes. I don't need that much time. I'm just about to get out. But again, yes, but tune in for tomorrow night when I co-host Supernatural Talk. I'll also be on with Jeremy this Friday night for the 13th Dimension. But until then, unless you want to wait till next week's show, next episode of my show, I will see you guys next week. So you guys all have a great night, and I'll see some of you guys tomorrow night and also next weekend. Basically next week. You guys all have a great night.